Hello everyone, this is Bhupen Sharma, and in this video we'll discuss about profile specific properties and hierarchical properties using configuration properties annotation. So let's get started. So let's go through a few of the bullet points about environment specific properties. So in Spring Boot, there is a built-in mechanism for targeting at different environments. When you're using .properties file, what you need to do is you simply say that application hyphen put any name and .properties. That any name can be any environment. You can say QA prod, stage pre-prod, or any other environment. And when you run your Spring Boot, you reference that property file using Spring profile active command. So what if you have more than one properties? So I have application.properties, I have application QA.properties, I have application prod.properties. So always the property that you are referencing while running your app take a precedent over everything. So let's see a sample project for that. So what I did is actually I created a project using Spring Initializer UI, and then I copied all the controller classes from the last demo, which has the REST endpoint and then the default properties that we have. So this is the main property file. Now let's say I want to use property for QA environment. So what I'll do is I'll copy and I'll create a hyphen QA.properties, and here I'll change my port 1991. Now in QA properties I don't have this chapter count, but I have a course name. So I'll say SAP HANA and C4C. So let's save it. So I created a very environment specific property file. Now let's compile this project and see whether it is compiled or not. It's compiled. Now run. So when I'm running directly, you see that it is referencing to the 1990, which is my main application.property file. So it is not even considering this one because we need to reference it that I want to run my project for this particular profile. So let's do one thing, and let's using mvn terminal command. So let's run from terminal. So mvn clean compile, and I'll say compiled, and I'll say mvn spring boot -run, and now I need to provide spring.profiles.active equals the QA, which is referencing to the QA file here. These Spring profile active it creates a system variable which Spring will pick it up. So when I run this way, you see that the following profile, so it will tell that the following profile are active, which is QA, and then you see it open at port as 1991. So now this QA property has the course name, but it doesn't have the chapter count. So what it will do is that it will override these two properties, but it still use third property from the main file. So let's try to call through a postman. definitely this will not work because there is nothing run on 1990, so it will be 1991. And as soon as I hit it, it picked the name property from the active profile, but chapter count would picked from the main property file. So this is the way the profile specific properties work. Now let's go and discuss about hierarchical properties. We can use @configuration properties annotations where properties are grouped together. So I can group, and the best example is data source. I can say that data source dot username, data source dot URL, the password, the driver configurations. I can group together and then make it a property configuration. These type of properties are mostly type safe because since they're part of a Java object, so you can apply different patterns and all those things. You can apply validations that it has, I don't want this property to be null. What is the minimum length, what is the maximum length, or if you apply any regex pattern, you can apply that. Why we are choosing this approach? Because @value notation sometimes become cumbersome for many properties. So if you have so many properties, you have to write @value for everything, rather than you can have a component created and then you can reference through and you can auto wire that component and use it anywhere you want to use in form of getter and setter. So, and it supports both properties and YML files. So we are going to discuss about YML in the next video. Let's now focus on properties only. So let's see a sample project for this. So here I'm continuing with the same project. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a little bit change here. One is I just put the property as course dot name, course, just to make a grouping. So course dot rating equals to 5, and then course dot author equals to Bhupen. So course is here is a grouping. So now let's create a configuration. So I'll say course configuration file. Let's define with component so that it can be auto wired, and then it'll say configuration properties, and then I know I can map through course. So let's do this way, course. Okay, now let's define the properties. So I'll say string name, chapter count, rating, and author. So it'll be and chapter count, rating will be again int, author. So let's generate getter and setter. Okay, so this creates a getter setter. Let's try to compile the project and see whether it's compiling or not. It's compiling. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is we need to test whether it is working. So let's first remove those. These are the injections. So now let's auto wire it. So private course configuration, and I'll say course configuration, and let's use auto wired. For a differential purpose, let's put these properties again. just to have some kind of difference to show. So I'll put default dot course name and let's put default dot chapter count. So these two will be separate entity. I'll say here what is the latest thing that I'm learning is AWS and Docker. Let's see. So I have 45 chapters on this, ratings, I know that is same. So here I will still have the same properties. So these are the normal property injection, and this is basically I'm talking about the hierarchical properties. Now where I'm gonna use them, let's do another REST endpoint. Let's create another and say get properties. So I'll say get just to have get hierarchical HI. Yeah, it's a tough spelling. So I just create an endpoint for the hierarchy, and then instead of passing course, I'll just say map. Let's put a map. Hash map. I'll say string, comma, object. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'll create this okay now, or let's see, return map. So I return the map. What I'm going to do is map dot put name, comma, and I'm going to use configuration from course. So course configuration dot get name, and then I'm going to repeat for what is that next one, chapter count, reading another chapter count, rating, and author. Okay, get chapter count, get rating, get author. Okay, so let's compile this and see any issues. Let's remove the request parameter because we don't need those. It is not required. Let's put this way and compile again. Okay, so now let's see, since we have all our REST endpoint ready and everything, just for to validate the type safe thing, let's change to rating to alphabet. Now here we define that as an integer and we pass it as a string. So when I try to compile this code now, compile successfully, because these errors comes at the runtime, because that is the time they load the properties. Now I'm gonna run it. So here you see it says that the property course.rating is having a value VH because it's failed to convert. So this become a fail safe or type safe, so that we cannot mess with the properties. Now let's change with it and let's see. Now server is running at 1990 port. Let's check through Postman. 1990. If I call the old API, still I get the SAP HANA, because my default property is still SAP HANA N3. Now if I use the different REST endpoint, I should have different values. Yeah, so I have author, name, chapter count, and rating. That's all for this video. Thanks guys.